I buy a lot of MacBooks on this channel, and for any of you that watch regularly, I don't think it's a secret that I get lucky more than an average amount of time. Now granted, not all of that is luck. I've done this a lot for several years and I know what to look for, but by and large, a lot of people are actually afraid to shop on eBay. And there is some reason to be concerned. As we've seen time and time again on this channel, there are a lot of people out there with deceptive and misleading listings that are trying to trick you into overpaying for old hardware. So what I want to do today is apply science to see just how hard it is to actually get a good deal. So to do this, I'm going to buy a completely random MacBook from eBay. Total AV is an award-winning antivirus suite that protects against malware and traditional viruses, as well as phishing scams that are becoming a lot more common across multiple platforms. Check out the link in the description below to get Total AV for just $19.99 per year. A random MacBook? How are you gonna do that? Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. If we look at eBay, you'll notice that it's sorted into pages with 50 results per page, and obviously you can change that, but I'm gonna leave it at 50, and we're gonna just look at the first 10 pages of the results for the search term MacBook. So we're casting a very wide net here. There's everything from like the older plastic MacBooks all the way up to 16-inch MacBook Pros. This is just everything. And basically what we're gonna do here is pick a random number between 1 and 10. That's gonna tell me which page to go to. And then I'm gonna pick a number between 1 and 50, and that's gonna say which listing I should buy. Now, before I actually do this and buy whatever MacBook, let's go through and do some test runs just to see what could happen. So there is actually one filter that I'm gonna do, and that's just buy it now listings. I don't want to bid on anything. We're just gonna hit buy and wait for it to show up at my doorstep. So let's do a little bit of a test run here with a random number generator. Page 5. Let's go down and go to page 5. Listing 34. So now I gotta count down 34 listings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 19, 20, 21, 22, 21, 32, 33, 34. Alright, so we've got a MacBook Air 13-inch, 128GB SSD, 4GB of RAM, 1.6 i5. So that is an early 2015 13-inch MacBook Air. We're looking at $366. You know, honestly, that's not bad. That's not terrible. Let's take a look at the pictures here. So it looks like we do have some noticeable damage around the housing, the top of the display especially. Yeah, so it's not the worst, it's not the best, but honestly, an early 2015 366 is, I want to say, average. I'm not as familiar with MacBook Air pricing as I am with MacBook Pro pricing, but that's definitely not terrible. So not bad for completely random. Let's do another test. 8, and a random number between 1 and 50, 4. Okay, well that's easy. Not a lot of counting there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, no, should we not? All right, you know what? I've made a decision. I don't want to count the sponsored listings at the top of each page because they're not really search results. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, this one is fancy. This is actually a seller that I've bought from in the past. I sell iMac, and we have a 2017 MacBook Pro Retina 13-inch. What is this, the function keys model, should be? Yeah, 256GB SSD is nice, so it's a little bit upgraded. You see these base model 2017s are all over the place, and you can usually get, I've even seen like open box ones go down to around 800, so not the best deal, but not really the worst I've ever seen either. So far, actually, this is looking pretty interesting. I was a little nervous that I was just gonna throw my money away on something ludicrously expensive here, but so far, both of those listings I think would have been pretty okay. So let's do a third one before I actually do this for real. Page 10. Listing 35. Alright, so we have an Apple MacBook Pro Core i7 Retina 2.9GHz, 16GB RAM, 512GB SSD, touch 15-inch. What is that, either a 2016 with the build-to-order processor or the higher-end 2017 model. Let's see if it actually says anywhere in the description. Oh, it's one of these auto-filled things. We should be able to find it by looking up the model number. All right, so model number is for a late 2016, so it's the late 2016 with the upgraded processor. What was the price on this one? I think it was like $1264. I mean, it's not completely outrageous, but I think that's a bit high for this computer. And I really don't like that they have list price $27.99 and then you save 54% off. That's misleading. Don't put the original purchase price for a 4-year-old laptop. That is not relevant at all. Honestly, I'm surprised. We did 3 test runs and they ended up being acceptable, not terrible. Certainly something that if one of you guys was like, hey, is this a good price? I would say, yeah. So now I think it's time for us to do this for real and actually buy whatever random MacBook we come across. Now, obviously, if I'm gonna do this without actually seeing the MacBook, because ideally I wanna try and hide the listing from me until I actually have it in front of me, I'm gonna need an assistant, also known as a roommate. I'll be right back. Ta-da! I found this guy in my house, so... Alright, so here's the plan, Will. What I want you to do is turn this away from me so I can't see it. I've got a random number generator open on the other tab there. And your first number is gonna be between 1 and 10, and that's gonna be the page of search results.
You got 6.
All right, page 6. Go back to the number generator and do between 1 and 50. 2? All right, then click on the listing and don't tell me what it is. And you're just gonna go ahead and hit buy. Oh, you moved my table down. There we go.
It wants me to buy a protection plan. I said no
Say
thanks.
no thanks.
Said no thanks.
Don't need to throw our money away today. Well, I mean, I'm already doing that, I guess. Oh, wait, scroll down. Does it have a coupon code that's like...
It's been ordered.
Oh, you already hit the button? Will knows what MacBook I bought, but he probably doesn't have any idea what it means.
No.
You're a filthy simp with a... What do you have, a Dell something or other?
I have like a 3-year-old Dell.
How long does it take to boot up?
Like a couple minutes. Last year, I had to call you because I opened my laptop in the middle of the class and it just started beeping, like just so loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, close, and then I walked out of class because I couldn't sit there anymore.
I think it ended up being like the little CMOS battery on the logic board, or the motherboard, because it's a PC. Literally just happened to have a random laptop sitting around and popped the battery out of that one.
The benefits of being roommates with Luke.
All right, well, thank you for your help. I don't even know how much money I just spent.
I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, don't give anything away. Thank you, Will.
Of course.
We're gonna cut away right now to thank Total AV for sponsoring this video. Traditional malware, as we commonly think about it, isn't the main form of cybercrime anymore. Phishing scams are becoming a lot more common. You know, those 16 emails per day letting you know that you've won some big cash prize, or a shady website that has a pop-up that tells you that you have a virus even though you don't. There are many different types of phishing scams that secretly record online activity and harvest personal data that's often used to carry out identity theft. To combat this, Total AV is offering their Pro Suite antivirus for just $19.99 per year if you use my link in the description below. It offers protection from the aforementioned scams, as well as traditional viruses and malware. So check out Total AV with the links below. And now it's time to figure out what MacBook I bought. So this box showed up today, and I'm assuming it's the MacBook. I really don't know, because I don't know when it was supposed to be delivered or where it came from, but this looks vaguely MacBook shaped, so I think it's a pretty good bet. And of course, I still refuse to use an unboxing knife because people get so mad about it. It's hilarious. So before I open up the box here, I want to take a guess as to which MacBook I got here. So basically, there's a couple of options. 12-inch MacBook, MacBook Air, the polycarbonate MacBook, or a 13 or 15-inch, or I guess a 16-inch as well, MacBook Pro. Now, just based on what I noticed from looking through the front pages of the search term MacBook, is there are a lot of MacBook Airs. I suppose it makes sense, because MacBook Airs are probably the most common type of MacBook. So statistically, this is probably either a 13-inch MacBook Pro or a 13-inch MacBook Air. Those seemed pretty common. So let's find out. Okay, well, it is a MacBook, so that's good. Okay, well, it is a MacBook Air. How about that? Really not a lot to this packaging, but I guess you don't really need it. So taking a look at the outside of this MacBook Air, I don't know what year it is. I suppose in theory it could be anywhere from 2012 to 2017 because it's got a MagSafe 2 charger on it. Okay, so honestly, this thing looks to be in pretty decent shape. Really, the only noticeable issue is there's a slight dent on one of the back corners and just really normal wear. I'm impressed with the condition of this, and that's actually significant because oftentimes when you see a MacBook that is priced lower than other comparable or similarly spec'd MacBooks, oftentimes it's because there is some cosmetic defect like a dented lid or a bent corner, maybe a line in the LCD. Stuff like that can actually, it seems minor, but they can actually have a huge effect on your ability to actually sell that computer. So I usually advise people to stay away from those, even though they look like good deals on paper. Fortunately, that doesn't appear to be the case here. I don't see any major external defects. So why don't we go ahead and turn it on and make sure everything looks good. Well, it is booting, which is good, which means I didn't buy a 4-parts MacBook without knowing it. Looks like this has Catalina on it, so let's do the reveal of the specs. We have a 13-inch early 2015 MacBook Air 1.6 GHz dual-core i5, 8 gigabytes of 1600 MHz DDR3, and Intel HD Graphics 6000, and we have the 128 gigabyte SSD. I might be mistaken, but I think 8 gigabytes of RAM was not standard in 2015. I think it started at 4, so I'm glad that we have 8 here because 4 gigabytes in 2020 is a little bit not good. So the battery has 236 cycles, which is good news. That's pretty low, especially for a MacBook of, 4 to 5 years of age, something like that. Although, honestly, I guess realistically, this Mac could be from as recently as like 2016 or 17 because the MacBook Air was updated so infrequently. And sure enough, this MacBook was made on week 52 of 2016. So that's the last week of December 2016. So this is not even 4 years old yet. So upon first inspection, this is actually a pretty solid MacBook here. But I think it's time to actually figure out how much I paid for this MacBook Air and see what the listing looks like. Okay, so here is the listing. So I paid $375 with free shipping. That's actually not terrible. Funny enough, actually, the first listing that we looked at when we did the test run was also a 2015 MacBook Air, but I'm pretty sure that one was about $8 less and had pretty significant damage around the corners and also 4 gigabytes of RAM. So we did pretty good here. Body is in good shape, but shows moderate wear or finish marks, may exhibit dings or scuffs. Machine works great. I would say honestly, it's better than they made it out to seem. They said 8 out of 10 condition. I'd probably give this a 9, to be honest. So before I wrap this video up, I want to just take a quick look here on eBay and see what other 13-inch MacBook Airs are going for. So it looks like on average, we paid pretty much about market value. Here's one for, this was $5 more than I paid, and this one has twice the storage, so that's definitely a slightly better deal in my opinion. So based on those eBay listings, it looks like we paid about the average value for this computer. I do wish it had come with a charger, but other than that, I really don't have any complaints. Certainly, if you had sent me this listing and asked if it was a good deal, I probably would have said yes. And in fact, I think this generation of MacBook Air is becoming a better and better buy as time goes on. See, the problem was about a year and a half ago, these MacBook Airs were way overpriced. Even a 2015 was in the $500 or $600 range, and the problem was you could get a Retina MacBook Pro for less than a MacBook Air, and you'd be getting better performance, more RAM in most cases, and a much better display and build and design and everything, pretty much. However, the thing is, now that the Retina MacBook Air has been out a little bit, these guys have had some time to depreciate, and they are pretty significantly less expensive than a good, solid Retina MacBook Pro, a 13-inch. At $375, you'd be struggling to find a decent 13-inch MacBook Pro that doesn't have at least one or two major drawbacks. So what I think is actually happening now is the 13-inch MacBook Air is filling a pretty interesting space between the now somewhat dated unibody 13-inch MacBook Pros and the still a little bit more expensive 13-inch Retina MacBook Pros. $375 might not be an outstanding deal compared to other similarly spec'd MacBook Airs, but for this MacBook Air, I think $375 is a very solid price point, and this is a great machine. So what did we actually prove here today? Well, quite honestly, I think that people are more afraid of eBay than they need to be. I picked 4 random listings, and I actually bought one of the random listings, and all of them were decent, if not solid. So that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. As usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please consider following me on Twitter at Luke Miani, and don't forget to check out my subreddit in the description below. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.